step into your space and load it for company. I'm testing all the faith, I hope you instilling me. We been destined to break, the nature been killing me. Cause love was never built for longevity, I know you hear me. I go by the name of TWNTY8, from Cleveland, Ohio. I rap, you know. I make hip hop music. I'm a storyteller, if you will. I've been rapping since I was 16. That's when I got into it. We started by it was me and a couple friends in high school. We had a little. I'm about to tell you a lot of stuff I ain't never told anybody before on this little interview. Some of it a bit embarrassing name wise. But we were 16. I had a little rap group. I was in a little rap group called HOD, which it stood for Hoes on Deck. That's what, like, we thought we was the coolest kids in the school. My homie James, my homie Aaron, they kind of introduced me to it. We used to sit in James' girlfriend's car and freestyle the Soulja Boy beats and just whatever instrumentals was cool at the time. That's how I started. And then I went to my first studio. It was on the east side of Cleveland. When I was 16, we recorded a song called Hottest Niggas Under the Sun, and it had a Lil Wayne sample for the hook, and it was in the back of a store, like a convenience store was the studio set up on the east side of Cleveland. That was the first studio I ever went to, and instantly I just fell in love with it and just knew that this music is what I was gonna do for the rest of my life. I was raised on R&B music. My favorite artist of all times is Alicia Keys, of any genre. That's what I used to be in choir and stuff, and I hit puberty, I wasn't able to sing anymore. I was like, I lost it, you know? Exactly. My love for music though, I still wanted to find something to do. And when I started rapping, and I didn't start listening to rap music until I was about 14. That's when I really started paying attention to it. Being from Cleveland, you hear it, but that's when I really started paying attention to it when I was like 14, 15 years old. 16, I started doing it. And it instantly became, how I got introduced to rap music when I really started paying attention to it was a song called One Mic by Nas. And so it just set the bar high for me. My favorite rapper of all time is 50 Cent, and then you got Wayne and Nas and Hove, and so the bar was always set really high for me. And when you follow guys like that, it shows you instantly. I always thought that hip hop was the most powerful and influential genre there's ever been, you know, from guys like Pac and Big all the way up to now. You got guys like Cole and Kendrick. It's a great way to express yourself, express your feelings, tell stories, let people know where you're from, have fun, party, whatever. There's so many different languages within hip hop. At first, hip hop for me was just fun. It was just fun. It was just you kicking with your homies, smoking a little, whatever the case is, and you just having fun. That's all it was for me. At one point, it was when I went to the studio and I got to see the process behind making a song. That was the first song I ever made. And it really wasn't even like a song that I made. I just did a verse for the song, but it was still just being able to see that process of what goes into just making a hip hop song. Being that behind the scenes experience really did it for me. And then I remember being in high school and being on stage for the talent show with a homie of mine. And he ended up winning the talent show, but we was on stage and we were just having a good time. And when he was doing the song and we were running around, the auditorium was packed. It had to be like 200-300 people in there, and we were having a good time, and we just running around and everybody's going crazy. That's when it was a lot of fun behind it. So it instantly clicked with me. It was instantly like a love thing for me between the studio and then doing that talent show. And then finding another studio and doing this, and then got into writing. I've always been a person I've always had a lot on my mind. My mind goes a million miles an hour. So just that outlet, being able to write and get things off of my head, regardless, I've written so many verses and so many hooks, thousands that will never even see the light of day, but it's just that outlet. So just those few experiences definitely made me, fall in love with hip hop music. Whether it be, you may not even heard of some of these guys, but whether it be like Chip the Ripper, who goes by King Chip now, Ray Cash, Corey Bates, and then you got you got Cuddy, you got MGK, you got Bone. Cleveland artists have never been afraid of being themselves, being different, and you really see that with Cuddy, who was a huge inspiration for me. Man on the Moon is a classic album. 110%. So that was always the tone that was set for me from these guys, and in my opinion, Bone being the best rap group of all time, they've always had a certain swag about them, a certain way they carried themselves. So that was always a tone for me. Just never, just never being afraid to be myself, definitely. And me coming out here to California, it's really the same thing out here, because the whole vibe out here is different with artists. Whether you're in the Bay Area and you got E40, or you got YG, Kendrick, it's really the same thing. Just a bunch of artists who just living life, just being themselves, unapologetically. So it's not anything necessarily that I'm trying to bring here to California. It's more so just being myself and presenting that just to the genre of hip hop. My sound, it was a lot of different roads to get to where I'm at right now. When I was 16 and I first started rapping, the thing that was like, up until that point, I had life experiences, but I didn't realize it because life it didn't hit me yet, being 16. So the thing that was important to me was like girls, cars. I was rapping about shit I didn't have, pretty much, at 16. I was just like this, punchlines, metaphors. That's how it was introduced to me, through freestyling and stuff. Freestyling, me and my friends, we was always just like, who got the coolest metaphor right here? And Wayne stole one of my metaphors, actually. When I was 16, I said, like, he ain't steal it, but I definitely said it first. I definitely said it before the song came out. So that's what was important to me. When I was 18, it was kind of the same thing, but that's when I kind of started getting in my own groove. That's when I experienced life more. That's when I moved out of my mom's house, dropped out of high school, and moved out of state. So life hit me then through different experiences when I was 18, and that's when it became more about storytelling to me. I dropped out of high school because I just knew school wasn't I don't think there's anything wrong with school besides college low-key being like a scam. But to be a rapper, there's no school to be a rapper. There's no school to say, teach you how to have a better flow or how to construct this. There's none of that. So I just never felt I needed school. So yeah, I dropped out, and through different experiences when I was 18, being homeless, losing a friend, life hit me. And then I started telling stories, telling my story, telling the stories of my friends back home in Cleveland. And it made me realize things that we were doing when we were growing up. It made me see a lot of that stuff in a different light. A lot of serious stuff that was happening to me that as a kid you kind of turn a blind eye to, you don't realize it. It started hitting me, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. And I started telling stories, and that's when I heard Nas when I was like 14. But his words meant way more to me years later when I turned 18, and I was like, that's what he was talking about. So it's more, my sound is, it's storytelling. It's storytelling. I'm influenced by some of the greatest storytellers of all time, whether it be, we got J. Cole now, who's an amazing storyteller. Nas was an amazing storyteller. Even growing up and hearing my mom playing like Slick Rick, best storyteller. And then you hear like Mos Def, and I grew up, and when I got into hip hop, I really got into like Lupe Fiasco. The dude can tell a story. So it was just that became my way. Yeah. Some of the stuff, like being homeless, I brought that on myself. I was 18. I was stupid. I thought like I had shit figured out. I was like, man, I know what I want out of life, and it wasn't more so that I had things figured out. It was more so I was ready to be a man. I was ready to leave my mom's house. I was ready to experience life and become the person that I was gonna be for the rest of my life. The way I was rapping, the things I was rapping about wasn't gonna get me anywhere. I was ignorant to the things that happened before that, and I think it was really important for me to experience life. Maybe not in the sense of being homeless and doing this and doing that. That's just the way it came to me. That's just the way it happened. So I was homeless because I moved out of my mom's house. I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, because I had a friend out there, and I had $120 in my pocket. At 18, I was like, I'll make it work. It didn't work out for me. I ended up sleeping like in the laundromat bathroom, on park benches, whatever the case was, eating Taco Bell out of the trash can some days, stealing Lunchables from the store, whatever the case was. That's what was going on. But while me being out there, I never thought twice about it because I always knew like I get out of this situation, whatever. I was never down on myself then. I had a girl at the time who she was pregnant, and she ended up having a miscarriage at 7 months, 8 months. It kind of made me like just her being pregnant kind of made me grow up a lot faster. Definitely, I was prepared to be like mentally. I was prepared to be a dad at that point. And then while that's going on, I get a call from my friend back home that one of my best friends got shot and he got killed. And I wasn't able to get back to his funeral because I'm doing what I'm doing right here. So I wasn't able to get back to his funeral. And it was crazy because like 3 days before that happened, me and him talked on the phone. I told him, I was like, man, the music shit's gonna work out, and we're gonna be on tour, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. You know, just dreaming and just talking about life with your friends. And then 3 days later, that happened. So it just made me all that processed. For a little bit, I blamed myself, or whatever the case was. So, but once all that hit me, music, the reason I didn't give up is because music was always there. I always had people in my life I could talk to. I always knew I could pick up the phone and call my mom. But at the same time, you kind of feel like at times you're being a burden in people's lives. You don't want to bother people with your problems. So music was always there, regardless, to be able to tell these stories, to be able to get these thoughts out. You know, there was at times you can feel yourself going crazy because you're just thinking and overthinking and just so much going on. Just having that outlet, just being able to sit there with a pen and a piece of paper and just get it all out. It was my therapy. It was me laying on a couch and talking to somebody. That's what hip hop was for me, 110%. Those experiences kind of fed into why, you know, I always felt hip hop was so powerful. It's because it's rapping is really, I mean, you're just really talking, and it's just way easier to express feelings. It's way easier to tell stories, and it's way easier to just shed light on situations that maybe it'd be harder to do in another genre. Maybe people would look away if it was another genre. You know, if you're singing about Black Lives Matter, or you're singing about this, or you're singing about slavery, and nobody want to hear that shit. People want to hear people want to hear, you know, sexy music when you're singing. But when you're rapping, it's completely different. You can really do anything. That is limitless in the roads you can take. I just think it's important to just remember why you started doing it. Right. Hold on to the happiness that it brought you at one point. Stay humble. When you start, I get a little attention now. I got some fans. I'm not where I want to be, obviously, but just those experiences are very humbling, and I think that's very important. Just, you know, there's artists who have as much attention as I do who think that, you know, they shit on people that love their music, that listen to them, you know, and, you know, I'll sit down, I'll have a conversation with anybody because they rock with me, I rock with you. That's just how it goes. So, but I definitely just think it's very, very important to just remember the happiness anything brings you and hold on to that for dear life, because it's like being happy in this world, in this life, and just the way things pan out is rare. It's rare. Just that, you know, you see, whether it be because of social media or whether it be because for whatever reason you see a lot of depression nowadays. So if you have anything that makes you happy, you just gotta, you know, hold on to that forever.
Music nowadays too. It's
a
whole depression wave of music that
it's something like depression and doing drugs like sells.
Yeah.
I think that some of these people aren't even depressed, aren't even like drug addicts. Nah. You know, Future came out and he said he don't even drink lean anymore, or he quit, or whatever the case was. But it was just a certain persona that he had, and it's something that sells, and that's what I'm getting. Like if it's something that you really did, speak on it. You know, if it's something that when Jay-Z was speaking on it, it was more so like, this is what I was doing to survive. He was never like, I'm a drug dealer, it's the coolest shit ever. Yeah. But you have people who are like, I sip lean, you should too. Like I'd pop pills, you should too. The shit is dope. It's fun. It makes you feel like this. It's a great time. But they never talk about what happens after that, you know, what comes with it. So there's definitely a difference between, you know, telling that story of this is what happened to me versus glorifying a certain life that you don't even really live because it sells.
Right.
When you glorify it, it makes it seem like when I hear Jay-Z, I be like, damn, that's crazy. That's what happened to him. That's wild. When I hear whoever now, it's like they're making it normal. All right, if I hit a party, I gotta pop a pill. I'm not gonna have fun. You know, they making it. It's a normal thing. Hip hop being so influential and so powerful, you got kids. It's like that sounds like a good time. Popping pills, that sounds like a good time, because when you hear it in rap music, there is no when you hear about dealing drugs, it comes with, you know, rappers speak on the consequences. Mm-hmm. When you hear about using the drugs, it's all about the fun that you're having. You don't really hear the consequences. Yeah. You don't hear about the addiction. You don't hear about losing your teeth. You don't hear about pulling your hair out. You're going crazy. You don't hear about those things. So it makes it normal, and you're like, I need to try that.
This shit is great.
Shit is amazing. This is definitely. This shit, I'm pop 2 pills and drink a little lean a day. This shit is amazing. The reason why I kept pushing the influences for me to keep doing it, my homies James and Aaron. First and foremost, when we first started rapping.
This the HOD crew.
The HOD crew, yeah. Their rap names were like Frico El Fresco and Tyler May, and then I was you know, my rap name was, at the time, wasn't 28. It was Swag Martian. That was my rap name at the time. But anyways, the reason why I kept pushing, I was terrible at 16 years old. Like I couldn't rap. But they made sure I was writing. They made sure I would, because I think they saw how much I loved it, how much I enjoyed doing it, how the happiness that it brought me. So they made sure that I kept rapping. They made sure I kept writing. They were paying for studio time. My homie James, he was paying for studio time. He would make sure that I was in the studio making music, and never one time did they tell me that I was bad at it. That when you have that support, that strong support within your inner circle, it makes you just way more comfortable to do it. It makes you way more comfortable to step out of the box, try new things, whatever the case is. That was first and foremost. My friend Aaron, his dad, me and him sat down. We had a conversation before about what success is and what real success is. And when he asked me that question, I looked at him and I was like, I'd consider you a successful man, raising a family, having a good job, making good money. And he was like, that's a form of success, but real success is waking up in the morning and being happy with what you're doing. Being able to leave a house with a smile on your face and looking forward to where you're going. That's real success. So whether it be Jay-Z, he wanted to rap, he wanted to be in a position that he's in now, he's successful. I think anybody with 2 eyes would consider Jay-Z a successful man. But to me, Jay-Z is no more successful than a school teacher who all she wanted to do or all he wanted to do was teach kids to the best of their abilities. And when they get it and when they grow up and they go through the school and they're in debt for it and this and that, and now they're teaching kids to the best of their abilities and making sure the generation after generation is educated. Jay-Z is no more successful than that school teacher to me. They're both happy with what they're doing. They're both doing what they wanted to do. They both found their purposes and they're pursuing those with all their ability. So that's what success is. But that conversation was very important for me because I knew music made me happy. But when you're in school or your parents or whatever, they want you to go to college. They want you to, have this life. And that's what's kind of pushed onto you. So I was unsure if music was going to be for me or not at 16, 17. But that conversation was definitely like, I'm gonna make music. And I'm going to do this with my life because I'm happy doing it. And that's what success is. A few years later, when I was about 21, I came out with a project called Compilation of a Broken Heart. It was my first real mixtape. It was my first real project. I was 28 at that point. My name was 28 at that point. But I got a message on Twitter from a guy who had to be 20 years older than me. He was in his 40s, and he told me when he listened to that project, he cried. And he said it hit home for him, and he was glad that there was somebody who was telling his story, a voice for him. At that point, when I was 21, regardless of everything else got me to that point. But at that point, I was like, I'm gonna do music forever. I'm a really hard critic on myself. So if there was anything that was gonna make me stop rapping or quit rapping, it would be me. There was a couple times where I was like, I'm about to give up. Like, I don't know if this is like, you know, for me. Because once you start getting a little bit older, it's kind of just like, fuck, like, what am I making progress, or what is really going on?
What was one of those instances?
When I first moved to California. I lived in Utah. I've been out of the house since I was 18. I've been on my own. LA though, people tell you it's expensive, but you don't, like, coming from Ohio, which is, I think, if not the one of like top 3, top 5 cheapest places to live. I had a 2-bedroom house for like $580 a month. I had a 3-bedroom house for like $800. I had an apartment for like $400 a month. It's real cheap, and these are in the suburbs and stuff. It's real cheap to live in Ohio. My mom had a 4 or 5 bedroom house for $1,200 in the suburbs. I thought that was a lot of money growing up. When I came to LA, nobody tells you. At the time, I didn't have a car. At the time, I was working like a minimum wage job at a Food for Less or something, pushing carts around. It was hot as hell. And I was just like, I'm out here trying to make music. And I was like, nah, man, like, this is not working out. Like, it's just, every time I wanted to go do a show, every time I wanted to go do something, I had no way. I was busting it. I was on the train. I was this and that. And it was just, this was probably like 2-3 years ago. And I was like, that's when I was going to quit making music. I just fell into like this kind of, this sadness, and I was like, man, this is just not working out for me at all. A guy named Mees from out here with a record label called Committee Records, who is represented by a rapper named Kaz, who is signed to Dreamville, signed to J. Cole. Mees reached out to me and told me he liked my music. And he currently follows me on social media. But he just reached out and told me he liked my music. He was a fan of it. I ended up getting an instrumental from him at the time and putting a song together called Beneficial. That was like, it was always, I believe in like signs and energies and things along those lines. That was like a sign for me. Somebody who has a way bigger platform than I do, stepping down for a second and just being like, keep going, like, you're dope. You know, you have a bright future. Just my ability as an artist has gone way, way up. More importantly, I've grown as a person from then till now. My importance in things have changed. My importance then was money, women, cars. You know, I more so saw what a lot of rappers get caught up in. I saw like the nice things. I saw the rewards for being a rapper. Yeah, you see the things that you can have, and you're like, that's dope. I want it. By any means, I'll rap about anything. I do whatever I want it. And you kind of get caught up in this. It's a stigma to it, and you get caught up in this mindset, which like nothing else matters, just this. My importance now is in relationships, friends, with family, just having a love for something, appreciating little things. I appreciate every day I wake up now. Just appreciating everything, and just doing it because you love it. Not doing it to have 1 million followers on Instagram. Not doing it to do world tours, though those things would be nice. Not doing it for those reasons. Doing it because it's an outlet. Doing it because it makes you happy. I think that has been my biggest change. And when I changed my mindset about the importance, what's important to me, I saw instantly a change in my music. I saw instantly my talent grew. I developed as an artist once I was just doing it for the love and because I like doing it versus the things I could have. That's the biggest change from HOD to now. And I got a cooler name. 28 is way cooler than Swag Martian. Through everything, be yourself. Through everything, remember why you started doing it. Like I said, that happiness. Hold on to that. with everything you can. Don't worry about pleasing people with your music. Don't worry about saying I'm about to make this song because so and so's gonna like it. You know, it's gonna blow up on the internet. I've been there. It never works out. Just make music that you're happy with. Just make music, whether it be a party song or whether it be you're telling a story. Just make music that feels good to you, that you're impressed with. I'd say don't be afraid to be criticized. You know, there's 7 billion people in this world. Not everybody's gonna like your music. There's a lot of rappers now who, if you don't like their shit, you're a hater. And then it kind of like, there's no growth in that. You know, you have to be open to opinions. You have to be open, even if you don't change anything because of those opinions. You got to be open to that criticism, and you got to learn how to shift that into a positive thing where you critique yourself, not being hard on yourself, like you suck at this or whatever. Just being able to be like, set a bar and know what's good to you. Once you set that bar, it just makes it so much easier to get there. And you get to that bar, then you can set another one and say, this is where I want to be. This is the thing I want to talk about. So just remain yourself. Hop on Instagram, type in December 28. The word December, the word 20, and then the number 8. It's one word, December 28, just like that. You'll find me there. On SoundCloud, you can listen to my music on SoundCloud. I'm on every streaming platform, whether it be, you know, Apple Music, Tidal, Spotify, whatever. My name's spelled differently on there. It's the word 20 without the E. So TWNTY and then the number 8, and you can find me anywhere. I recommend hopping on Instagram and giving me that follow. I'll follow you back, and then you could watch me grow. That's where you're gonna get all the updates, all the music, all that good stuff is right there. Absolutely. The power of your mind is tremendous. The balance and the value is why I cannot lend it, and I will not cross over. I will not fold, nigga. I cannot decompose the lies that you told. That breaking point was comfortable, but now you just making noise. I can hear desperation and envy that's in your voice. I can hear blatant panic. You need me to fill that void. You need yourself vibrant colors, the better your painted choice. My heart lacking sympathy, just like you did for me. When I was down and out, you put your foot on me. Look how I came around. Look how you feeling now. I believe in eye for an eye, and I watch the whole world go blind. I'm vibing to the stigma of failed dreams. It seems the streets my only choice, and I can't leave. I'm tired of it, but I love that shit. The product of it. Yeah, I need that shit. 2-8.